Maybe it's a shortcut, Dwight. It said go to the right.
It can't mean that. There's a lake there.
I think it knows where it is going.
This is the
the
lake.
machine
This
knows.
is the lake.
Stop yelling at me.
No, it's
Stop
up there.
yelling.
There's no road here. Remain calm. I have trained for this.
Welcome to the Greg and Leisa show.
I'm Greg, and I almost just stepped on a pair of scissors as I sat down.
That's not good.
Yeah.
It goes left over from the palm leaves.
Yeah, actually it is.
Yeah. Well, and I'm Lisa, and we are going to talk today about what to do when you get into an auto accident, or if you're involved in an accident at work or somewhere in your travels. And, you know, it does seem like it is a menial topic after coming off of Palm Sunday and Easter, but
We had to do something.
yeah, we did. So, and it is a much needed topic because a lot of times people don't do these things and they wish they would have done these things. And then, you know, on down the road, it's better to be prepared now. And it's like anything else. You have to learn it in order to do it, and take the time, you know, you'll be farther ahead if something happens because you're going to know what you should do.
Absolutely.
You know? But, you know, we don't want anybody to get into an auto accident or any accident, but we all know accidents do happen. And knowing what to do is half the battle. So being able to do it and or having someone help you do it and help you through it is very important. And it can have a major impact on any outcome in the event that you should need to file a lawsuit on down the road.
Right. And so a lot of times, you know, if we have an accident, we're shook up, don't know what to do, might not be able to do anything because you're injured or incapacitated some other way. So, yeah, it's very important to have a plan.
It is. And some of the things, you know, we're taught as we're growing up, you know, is to, you know, first of all, make sure everyone is okay, but, you know, call 911 in case they need a police or ambulance or fire, exchange insurance information, and wait till you're either able to leave the scene or being transported to a medical facility. But those aren't always things that you're going to want to do. There's more that you're going to want to do. So the question is, Greg, when the first responders arrive on the scene and you are passed out and unable to communicate, how do they find out who you are and who they should contact in the event of emergency?
Well, yeah, you know, your driver's license identifies who you are, but who should they notify, you know, if you need help? And then, you know, how? Most people have lock codes on their phones for security reasons in case their phones are lost or stolen. Adds another layer that needs to be, you know, cracked, or something needs to be done for, you know, first responders to get that information they need.
Right. And how are they going to? And I'm sure you've heard about the ICE in case of emergency, and it's recommended that you have ICE, and I put it in all caps, behind, you know, somebody in your phone that you want to be your emergency contact, because most first responders know that if they can get into your phone to look at for the ICE, and they'll know who to call in the event of emergency.
Yep.
But if they can't, where's a good place to keep that information that they would be able to find it?
So, you know, your phone's locked. They can't gain access to your contact list. What do they do? You should have, you know, this information physically on some sort of little card or piece of paper in your wallet. You know, who to call, their relationship to you, and it should be near your driver's license.
Right, so it's easy to find because they're scrambling too to get things done and try to react and take care of things. So I have ICE behind my daughter and my son in my phone. But Greg, do you have ICE in your phone or a list in your wallet?
I believe the ancient Greeks would have called this no. No, I don't.
Okay. It's all about preparedness, just like when you have to wear a medical alert bracelet in case you're allergic to something.
Yep.
But it's also muscle memory and teaching those close to us in what to do.
Yep.
I've already started talking to my grandkids when they come over and spend the night with me what to do in case of an emergency. Because as I'm getting older, they have to know how to call 911 from my house. They have to know how to get, you know, the ambulance and the police access in. And so I've started, you know, opening that dialogue so that, you know, they can start planning too. And it's like anything else, you have to start the discussion to, you know, start the process. But if you are involved in an accident and you verified everyone is okay and you are okay, what are you going to do next? you're all upset and distraught. What are you going to
So,
do?
call your emergency contact who you have trained or talked to about what to do if you've had an accident. So, you need someone who can calm you, someone who has a level head and will move forward with what needs to happen, and that will be in your best interest. So,
Right.
yeah.
Because at that
Yeah.
point, nobody's looking out for your best interest. They're basically looking at who's at fault. They're looking at anybody's medical needs that need attention. And, they're not looking at everything as a whole because they're trying to clean the scene up, get people moved, get the flow of traffic
Sure.
going. But, while you're waiting for the police to arrive, and there's various first responders that might be coming, you want to evaluate the accident yourself if you're able to. You do not want to admit that it is your fault. Keep those words to yourself.
Right, because even if it seems that way,
Yeah.
if it's a big line of cars,
Right.
you might feel it was your fault. It may not really have been.
Right.
So
That's right.
it's not just about not admitting it, which it's
right.
nobody's business really
Right.
what you think about that. But
Yeah. And the police will determine by skid marks and other things
Yeah.
if it, who's at fault. But you don't need to admit that it is your fault. But you want to start taking photos. You want to take photos of your car. You want to take photos of your car where it's landed in relationship to any other vehicles. You want to take photos of the other vehicles. You want to take photos of the road conditions, any low traffic lights that were close by. Those are all things that are going to be important later on if you should have to fight and go to court or file a lawsuit. And in work-related accidents, you want to take, photos of where the accident happened, any equipment that was nearby. You want to note the weather conditions. You want to note the conditions of the flooring, wherever you're at. But that's the point where you need somebody that if you can't do those things yourself, that you have that person that is going to come and do those things for you.
Sure.
So you're most likely going to be asked to fill out a police report or write a statement of what happened. Your local law enforcement's going to ask you that. And you may be asked to draw a diagram of exactly what happened on where your car was, the other car was, or where you were at work and how it happened.
And if law enforcement needs to know about me and they ask me to draw a diagram, they'll at least learn I'm not an art major. Or I wasn't.
That wasn't your forte,
No,
huh?
no, they'll learn that about me.
Yep. So, but also nowadays, the law enforcement officer will 9 times out of 10 exchange the insurance information. They will get the insurance information from both of you. They will put it on the report, and then that way you don't have to worry about exchanging it with any of the
and
other
it's an
parties.
official documented place.
Right.
So
Right.
if you had written it down and
Right.
you can't find it, there is an actual report. And
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you want to, if you aren't able to do this, make sure that you call somebody. And that's part of opening the dialogue and talking to that person that you want to be that emergency contact. But make sure that you get the police report number, ask the officer for it, and find out how in your jurisdiction that you can obtain a copy of the police report so that you have it for your files.
Right. And all this stuff happens. You do all these things, but even if you do it all right, accidents still have a bunch of different impacts: emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, certainly financially.
Yeah. And on others.
Right.
Your family or whoever, your significant other are, everybody's going to be impacted by it. And one of the things that I try to do especially when I'm on the road and I see an accident, is I try to pray. And I pray for the first responders, the doctors, the nurses, whoever is going to be helping. I pray for, their emotional stability, physical healing if they're hurt, spiritually and mentally and financially, because a lot of people is going to take a financial hit on that accident and on all the others that may have to become caregivers or take care of them.
Sure.
And so I always try to pray as soon as I see something or I see flashing lights, because you can never have enough prayers. But vehicles and things can be replaced and people cannot.
Right. That's
so
that is very, very true.
Right. But you need to learn to take videos of everything or photos of everything.
And she means everything.
I do mean everything.
So if you don't know her as, like I do, you hear everything. Oh, yeah, I'll take a lot of pictures. Everything.
That's right. Every scar, every bruise, every injury that you have, any bumps, any stitches, you need to have photos documenting everything that you are going to go through in this accident recovery process. And you need to take them with a dated camera because you're going to document your whole process because you are the one feeling the pain. You are the one suffering. You are the one experiencing it. And nobody else can put it down into words and document it like you can. Now, you can have people help you take the photos if you got something behind your leg or something, but you are going to become a photo documentary journalist during this recovery process.
And just on dated photos, so in the age of cell phones, most of them do still have a setting where you can have a timestamp on the photo, but even if you don't, digital photos do bake all that into the digital file. So
you want to make sure it is there because sometimes though when you transport a photo into a PDF document, they can't click on that.
You do have to be careful, and that's why I say you still can have the timestamp on the front.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that it is documented and dated.
Yeah, however you need to do that, as long as the date time can be confirmed.
Right. And you want to journal. You want to journal every day in the beginning. You want to journal exactly how you feel. You want to journal if you couldn't go to work. You want to journal that, you couldn't sleep at night, that you were up and the pain meds aren't helping. You want to journal everything about your accident recovery process. Because if you should have to have a lawsuit filed, all of this paperwork and all these things that I'm trying to get you to do is going to be vitally important when it comes to filing a lawsuit and settling with the insurance
I was going to say, regardless
company.
of which side of that lawsuit you might be on, you want to do all these things.
Yeah, you do. So, but you need to complete that task every day. If you let a day or two go by, you better catch it up because you need your date. You need to show your progress. Either you're healing or you're not healing, or you've had to go to physical therapy, or your work, has been impeded and you can't go to work for another 6 weeks because you're not healing. So you want to look at that because accident recovery process has a huge impact on your lives, your family's lives, your ability to earn an income, your pain, suffering, and any additional healthcare needs you might have. Maybe you can't be left alone for a while and you're going to have a healthcare provider there to take care of you. Medically, you want to make sure that you document all your doctor's appointments, who you saw and for what. If you go to physical therapy, you want to keep all your appointments that they're booked for you, because if you make an appointment and you don't go because you think you're okay, then the doctor's going to say you canceled, and then it's going to look like, well, your injury wasn't that important, was it?
It's completely okay to go to one of these appointments and for the doctor to tell you you're okay, even if you feel that way.
Right. Because if he tells you it's okay, then that's documented in your file, not just your opinion.
But I mean, also in a very real sense of just going to the doctor for anything. Like, there may be something wrong on the inside that you can't see or feel.
Yeah. But you want to keep updating your journal. You want to keep a separate file for all your medical bills that are related specifically to your accident. And you're always going to want to make copies of those so that you have them. But when the insurance companies, you're actually going to be settling on two separate claims. One is going to be for the automobile, and then one is going to be for your medical and your physical. But when you're settling and you're looking at your automobile, you need to make sure that you do your research and see exactly what your car is worth. And you can go on to either NADA or Kelley Blue Book, and you can pull up your current values, put in your mileage. But you also want to consider if you've done recent repairs. Maybe you put 2 new or 4 new tires on it, and that was $700 that you just put in it.
Easy.
Yeah. And so you want to make sure that when you're negotiating with the insurance company, and I know the insurance companies aren't going to like me doing this segment today, but it's one of those things that you have to negotiate and you have to stand up for yourself, because if you don't stand up for yourself, nobody else is going to. And so if you put extra money in that car and you know what it's worth, and you put new tires on it, then you negotiate that. You got a copy of the bill that you paid for those tires that was $700 over and above what the car is worth. And so you need to have all your ducks in a row and all your figures when you're starting to negotiate and settling for the car. Now, if your car was towed to a storage facility, you want to get to that storage facility as soon as
Right,
possible.
because you'll continue to pay storage daily on that vehicle, and they're not going to release until that's paid, and that's something I wouldn't have thought about.
Right. And they are sometimes like bulldogs because they want their money, and they want their money before you can
Yes, they
take your
do.
car. And if your car is not drivable or you have to have it towed out of there, you want to make sure that you have a place for it to be towed. Or you also want to take pictures of it when you go to the storage yard, because maybe something happened to the car in transit from the accident scene to the storage facility. And so that's another reason why you take pictures at the accident scene,
Absolutely.
because maybe there was some negligence on the tow truck driver and something happened to your car
Yeah.
that wasn't there to begin with.
Right, and it's not always that they did something wrong. I mean,
No.
it's an Ohio highway, for example.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff flying around, little
Right.
pebbles, right?
Right.
Different things. You're driving behind somebody
Right.
who's loading some heavy stuff, and a little thing
Yeah.
flies off. There's a lot that can happen.
Yeah, there is, but you want to get your personal belongings out as soon as possible. You want to take pictures, interior and exterior pictures of your car. You want to take a look at it, and you want to make sure that when you get ready to settle with the insurance company that they are going to pay for the tow bill. If you have a towing company that you would prefer to have your car towed to, that is something that you need to do ASAP with the law enforcement officer, because a lot of law enforcement officers, and companies and precincts, they have certain tow people that they call and they have a relationship with them. Well, you have also a relationship with a tow company, and you have
Sure.
a right to ask for that to be towed to the company of your choice.
Yeah, and a lot. For instance, if you're a AAA member,
Mhm.
they'll tow it right to a dealership, and then
Right.
you, depending on how bad the damage is, of course, but
Right.
you get there, you write down what happened,
Mhm.
you drop it off, and storage fees or
Yeah, yeah. And they'll tell you that insurance adjuster will go to any tow place that car is, because they're going to go there and look at the car. They're going to decide if it's totaled or if it's not totaled, or if the cost to repair it is more than it's worth. And they're going to look at those things. But you have to, have all your ducks in a row to do all your negotiating. But you want to know, that's another phone number that you need to have with your contact information, is if you have a tow company and a mechanic that you use, that I would put those numbers with your contact people
Sure.
too, because that way it's right there available and you can give it to the police, because they're not going to wait. So, but do not be in a hurry to settle, and do not settle until you have completed all of your research.
Now, she said that very nicely, but she typed it in all caps, so that is a serious point right there.
It is a serious point. And, you can't let the insurance agents pressure you into settling, because they will. Sometimes insurance adjusters, they get paid a bonus if they settle a claim for a lot less than they really could have. In other words, they save the insurance company money.
Right,
And
exactly.
the insurance company is rewarding them for doing a good job. And so you can't get mad at the adjuster, because they're doing a job that they've gotten paid to do. But you, as the insurer, who has paid this insurance premium for years, is entitled to, a fair and equitable settlement. But nobody is going to look out for you but you. And on your car, when you are ready to settle for an amount that you've researched and you feel comfortable for with what they're offering you, you need to negotiate the amount if you have good details. And remember that you need to negotiate. The insurance is also going to recover money, because they're either going to sell the car and get salvage price out of it, or they're going to sell it for parts. And sometimes they'll sell it at an auction, and a dealer or somebody will pick it up.
Depending
and they'll
on
fix it depending
absolutely.
on the damage and the year of the car.
They will get every last little cent they can out of that thing.
They will. And you have equally as much of a right to keep that car if you want to in the settlement negotiations. I had a car once that I had, always upkept and had a lot of money in it, and I had put new tires and stuff on it. And I negotiated the settlement that I kept the car, I kept the title, and I salvaged it, or I scrapped it.
Sure.
And so,
Yeah.
those things are available to you. And so don't, let an insurance adjuster tell you that they're not, because maybe that you
Yeah.
asked for something that
And-
nobody else has ever asked for.
And they're not necessarily doing something wrong or bad. I
No.
mean, sometimes they are, but not always. It's just there may be a better option.
Right, and not only that, you may be teaching them something that they didn't know even by asking. You know. But also, you are the one going through the accident recovery process. And, other people have gone through their own accidents and their own issues. At this time, it's you, and you're carrying all the anxieties and the worries that come with, recovering from the accident.
Yep. So insurance, we talked about it. Just on top of anxieties and everything, a lot of time it's a stinging game. You're required to have it, depending on the state you live in. I think most of them you're required to have it. Getting insurance companies to pay is a negotiation game. So you're paying for a service that you then have to negotiate to use.
That's right.
So it's stressful, it's daunting, it's aggravating, and it's a shame. Like, you pay all this money to these people for that reason.
Right.
You're paying them because you think something might happen. I mean, you're required to.
Yeah.
But
State
insurance
says you have to,
insurance is paying because you think something negative might happen and you want to be protected if it does. You're paying a lot of money for that.
Right. And let's look at it. All the insurance have gone up, twice this year already.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and yes, the insurance companies say they've lost billions due to all the disasters, and I understand that, but, it's not everybody that should always have to take that burden. Yeah. And especially, you shouldn't have to have the burden of the stress of trying to settle something that you're entitled to according to your policy. And that's one of the things that you need to really do is to read your policy. If you don't read your policy and know what you're entitled to, you're not going to know whether they're trying to rip you off or not, or they're just trying to earn their bonus, or, that saying ignorance is no excuse, and if you don't have a copy of your policy, then ask for one, and they'll give you one. But you really need to read it and see what you're entitled to. Are you entitled to a rental car during this accident? And how long will they pay for the rental car? And even though, the accident may not have been your fault and the other guy's insurance is supposed to pay it, now you're dealing with two insurance companies, because if that insurance company doesn't pay and you got to, file under your own insurance company, then your insurance company is going to, go after their insurance company.
Yeah.
But it's my niece in Michigan. It took her a year and a half to get her house finished, due to hail damage and tornado and winds that came through. And it should have never taken a year and a half to get those repairs
This whole
done.
insurance is one of the funnier things we've come up with as a modern society. Like, take life insurance. Life insurance, you're betting you're going to die.
Yeah.
And they're betting you're not.
Yeah. Not until they've gotten all their money first.
Yeah. I mean, and car insurance, you're betting you're going to get a car wreck. They're hoping you don't.
Right.
It's a weird construct to be on the side of.
It is. I'm not a fan of insurance, and, it's a necessary evil when you have to have it.
Yeah.
And, but I certainly don't like paying for something and then fighting to get what I'm entitled to according to policy.
Even it's odd to start and then it's run, not always the best. So, without changing society as a whole, which I don't think we're going to do on this show.
No, we're not.
Insurance is a thing.
Yeah. But also it's a waiting game, and sometimes the insurance company will try to wait you out, because they'll wait you out and think you're going to get so upset and you just want to settle it and get it over with. And
in this day and age of things being electronic, that if they're waiting it out, they're just waiting. There's no reason that document that you need to see can't come your way. Or
but then they ask for it 5 or 6 times, because they say they didn't get it. And then it's like, because I know my niece filed multiple paperwork, to try and get, her claims through on her house. And it's like, oh, they didn't get it. And she'd have to resend it. And even though it went to an email and she had verification it was sent, it was like, I don't have it. And, and that's why I said it's a waiting game. And, you stand up for what, you're entitled to. Because like I said, nobody's going to do it but you. Nobody else is going to look out for what you're entitled to but you. But when it comes to the physical part, if you kept your daily journal and you documented well, you have all of your photos, the insurance company has started throwing out figures to you, do your homework. Because I'm going to tell you, they'll throw out, it's usually 9 times out of 10 a very low number, But in your mental state and going through the recovery, that number might sound good, you know, because you haven't totaled up all your medical expenses. You haven't totaled up how your lost wages are. You know, you haven't looked at, how your life has changed due to the incident or the accident. I mean, they don't look at, they do allow compensation for, not being able to have sex with your wife or your husband, because that was impacted by the accident. They are, entitled to some damages too. And there are formulas and rules of thumb that the insurance companies use and they go by when they settle their claims. But if you have everything in a row and you have all your accident package and paperwork together, talk to a local accident injury attorney that's, specializes in these type of cases, because they'll be able to tell you, is your injury severe enough that it's worth filing a lawsuit or not. They will be able to guide you and make those decisions.
Sure.
And it is one of the things that I always say, you should talk to somebody if you don't have this experience in the field and that, you don't feel comfortable, especially negotiating on your own behalf.
So, yep, and you can try to settle your medical claim on your own behalf, but if you should choose, but it also depends, like we said, severity and what you sustained. And, I read that, and as I'm thinking about saying, I'm probably just calling the attorney.
Yeah.
I have no basis myself for determining that, but one other thing that sticks out to me is, don't shortchange your pain and suffering. Insurance companies don't pay for future pain and suffering. And some people, if you're kind of like me, you might look at what happened to you and, worry about being greedy. And certainly don't be greedy, but don't short yourself too.
Be fair.
Yeah.
I always ask for people just to be fair. You're not looking to get rich quick. You're looking to get compensated for what you have suffered and lived through, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it is, during this journey. And if you have documented everything you have, the attorney will tell you you have a good case and you have helped him, do really well in getting a good outcome for you with his case if you have done everything. Most of the time, the attorneys will charge a third of whatever you settle, and of course that's after expenses. But making your own copies and getting all this paperwork together actually saves you money, because if you give it to the attorney and they have to have a paralegal or a clerical make all the copies, they're going to bill you for that. And you don't need that, or you can scan it in the computer and send it over in an email attachment.
Sure.
Or, you can put it on a thumb drive and drop it off. But one of the things that you need to do is to check your local jurisdiction where you are and find out what the statute of limitation is for filing a lawsuit if you're in an accident. Here in Ohio, it's 2 years. And so, which means from the date of that accident to the date that occurred, you have 2 years from that date to decide if you're going to file a lawsuit and, pursue this case. You have 2 years to negotiate with that insurance adjuster.
And that's also why you don't want to rush into settling, because some of the effects and things do take a little time to show up.
Right. And until you give time to heal and see what the final outcome is going to be, or what the residual effect is, you don't want to settle. But they want to settle fast, because the faster they settle, the faster they get it off of their books. But getting an attorney involved tells the insurance company that you mean business, that you're not going to play, and that either you're going to get an attorney, and don't threaten to get an attorney if you don't intend to do it, because that's not going to cut it. I had an accident, several years back, and I had all my ducks in a row, and I made an offer that I felt was fair to the insurance company, and the insurance adjuster, she just wasn't having it. Well, I got an attorney, and the insurance company ended up paying more than what I had originally offered them, and an insurance adjuster within their company said they should have settled. They didn't know what that, agent was, doing, and it's like, well, cost you more money. My attorney made money, and I got some money too, but it's like that would have never happened if they wouldn't have looked at everything that was there.
Right. So obviously each case is different, but you touched on it, but don't let those adjusters pressure you, take advantage of you, discriminate against you.
Yeah, because sometimes they'll take older people and they'll, make them sound like they don't have a case, or they should be healed by now, or we should settle it, and they take advantage of the elderly and trying to get things taken care of, and you know it's terrible that they should even think that they can do that.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
that's like one of the friends that I know, the insurance adjuster is trying to get her to settle, and more or less acted like she didn't you know really have that bad of a hurt,
Yeah.
and you know she still has problems. She's still going,
Yeah.
to the doctor. She still can't use her right hand or
And,
her hand.
you always have to be careful. Like, I've been lucky. I've had to deal with 2 insurance adjusters in my life, I think, directly anyway.
Yeah,
And, it was all fine and,
yeah.
agreed with everything I thought. But just because that's happened, you just got to be on your guard.
You do. You have
'Cause,
to take care of yourself.
not everybody's going to have a damaged roof and just have somebody come in and agree with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but don't let the insurance adjusters intimidate you. They may try to be forceful. They may try to act like they know what's going on. But knowledge is power, and the more that you plan ahead and make pre-made arrangements with people, the better off you're going to be. And talk to an attorney and do your homework and pray about it, because nobody's asking to be treated for anything other than what they're entitled to according to the policy and what the damages are.
Yeah, we're not suggesting
Right.
you be greedy, but
Right.
you don't want to short yourself. And speaking about pray about it, do you think we have any Bible verses to talk about this time?
Yes, we do. We have some Bible verses relating to accidents and going through the process. I bet you didn't think I'd find any, did you?
I've stopped doubting you on that. That's
Well, 1 Peter 1:5 says, "We are protected by the power of God through faith."
that speaks to not being greedy too. Faith in God, to do what's right,
Right.
and all that.
But if you want to be protected by God through faith, you have to have that relationship with Him.
Yes, you do.
And you have to have that, faith and that
because
relationship.
other parts of the Bible,
Mhm.
definitely speak to not letting yourself be taken advantage of.
Right. Yeah.
So next here we have Proverbs chapter 1 verse 33. Whosoever fears the Lord shall continuously live in safety and shall be at ease.
Yeah. Nahum 1:7, "The Lord is good, and He is a refuge in time of trouble." So remember that when you're going through the accident recovery process and you're not feeling so good, and the insurance adjuster is giving you a hard time, and you're trying to get everything together, just remember that you can always go to God.
Mm-hmm. So next, Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 8. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. The Lord will go ahead of you, and He will guide you.
Yeah. Isaiah 52:12, "But you will not leave in haste or go in flight, for the Lord will go before you, and the God of Israel will be your rear guard."
So He's ahead of you, He's with you, He's behind you. I don't know if you caught that in those past few verses, but and there are sections that say it all at once. So they're just everywhere all the time.
Yeah, He is. And
so Psalm then chapter 41 verses 1 through 3. Blessed are those who have regard for the weak. The Lord delivers them in times of trouble. The Lord protects and preserves them. They are counted among the blessed in the land. He does not give them over to the desires of their foes. The Lord sustains them on their sick bed and restores them from their bed of illness.
Right. And basically, when you are going through an accident recovery period and trying to get back on your feet, you are sometimes that disadvantaged person. And sometimes you are that person that needs help. And as Christ followers, we're always supposed to be there to help and to be that support.
Right. And, we've talked a lot about insurance adjusters and how you need to be careful of them. If you're out there and you're a good one, like, God bless you. Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
Because there are folks out there doing a fair job of it. I don't want to end all this without.
Right. But it all comes down to business.
Yeah.
It comes down to business. It comes down to the bottom line, the dollar amount, the settlement amount. And you can't take it personal with the adjuster. They're doing their job.
Yeah.
But you take it, it's your personal. It's personal to you because you're experiencing it. But you have to know what you need to do to protect yourself.
Yes.
And just to stand firm in your negotiations.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a theme in a lot of our videos. No, do your homework.
Right.
Put
it
in the
is.
work. There's
Right.
that word.
At work, yeah.
Do the work.
Yeah. But blessings come to those who are mindful of disadvantage. This is not a promise that as Christ followers that we'll never have any challenges or trials or tribulations or hurts. But he's always going to be with us 24/7,
Yep.
no matter what.
And when you go through something, often you're a good resource to somebody else who.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Right. And if somebody has had experience and has been through some of the same things that you have, you need to reach out to them and talk to them.
And I was going to say, and if you're a single person, don't have a lot of people, you would be surprised. That person at work who might seem a little standoffish,
right?
You never know, because even if you don't, you're not best friends, you're not hanging out.
Right.
Very few people like when somebody else goes through this kind of thing. So
right.
a lot of people even you may think wouldn't be willing to help.
Right.
Very well could be.
And it all comes down to asking.
Yeah.
I heard a preacher say on the radio last week while I was on the road that said, he's never had anybody turn him down when he's asked them to do something.
Right.
And it's so true. Sometimes people just want to be asked.
Well, yeah.
And if you're waiting for them to volunteer, sometimes you can wait a very long time.
Yeah.
Or they may never volunteer.
Right.
But if you ask them, they will accept and they will say yes.
Usually, and even if they say no, you're not any worse off than you were, but you do miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's right. That's right. So, but God is there no matter what, during the good times and the bad times, and there isn't anything too big for God to handle. So we hope that you do your homework. If you get into an accident, pull up this video, reread it, re-listen to it.
Yep.
And make sure that everything is covered.
And I'm sure the wide world of the internet, there's a lot of other, resources where you can find this kind of information. For if some reason you don't like us, I can't imagine why you wouldn't. But if for some reason this isn't your cup of tea, there are plenty of other people with plenty of different worldviews, dealing with these kinds of topics.
Right.
So,
but unfortunately, they usually call me when it's too late. Or they ask for that advice when they should have asked for it 6 or 7 months ago.
Yep. And you've said that to me about a lot of the different lines of work you've been in, whether it's the real estate or the, the recovery and all that stuff too.
Well, that's why it's more important to be proactive. Have a plan, have a direction. You may never need it, and you may never need it. You may need it, but you're prepared if you do, and you just have that sense of assurance that you have it covered. Just like we have this sense of assurance that God has it covered.
Yeah, you don't have to pay a premium to God.
That's right.
Well, you don't have to do tithing, but that's not really what that's not really like an assurance premium.
Yeah. So, but anyways, we hope that you've learned something, and we appreciate you checking out our YouTube channel. And we do pray that you stay accident free and that you really don't need this information. But if you do, we hope that you take the right steps to protect yourself and your family. So may the God of peace be with you as you go through this rest of this week. And we'll see you next time. And I'm going to try not to step on the scissors as I get up, because that wouldn't be an accident anymore. I know they're there, so I'd be out of luck on that one. Yeah. All right. So, see you, everybody. Goodbye.